They had strong surveillance.
I believe that.
I mean, like, think about any bank that you've been to. Think about any place that you've been to and been like, yo, there's a lot of surveillance here. And then think about that times 5 to 10. Is that like they'll come in and there's a flag next to it. And he told me, don't send in the multiples. And I was like, why wouldn't I send the multiples? He's like, if you send in the multiples, there's less of a chance that you're gonna get a 10 because they're gonna make sure that one is better than the other.
Today, we're talking to someone who's worked at PSA, biggest card grading company in the hobby. I want to start by saying this is one guy's perspective about his experience at PSA. It's not a statement from PSA. This is Rocco. We have the pleasure of having on. And Rocco, how did you end up working for PSA? Let's go over time. When did you work for PSA and how did that happen?
So what's crazy is I had no idea that PSA was even in this area until I want to say like around the pandemic, and I'm over here at home, like getting paid for being at home, but if you remember that period, but also kind of like exploring options, right? And I found collectors, and I was like, collectors is PSA, and I'm like, they're right in Santa Ana. So I applied back during 2021, I believe. Never heard anything back. Didn't really think twice about it. You know what I mean? A couple of years goes by, and I saw it again, and I applied again. I applied to be a grader. So I applied to be a grader. This is like fall of 2020. 2024. This is fall of 2023. Because I worked there from December until like April of 2024. So I applied to be a grader. They contacted me back about 3 weeks later, and they said, we're not looking for anyone in grading right now. We are, but we start them in research first to make sure that they know the business, they know the cards. And if they do well in this department, then they can move forward, right? So we started that process a little bit back and forth, couple of weeks, and I started there. As I sent you on the email, I think it was the very first week of December, late in 23.
What you said your role was research.
Yes.
How many? You also mentioned a lot of departments. How many different departments, and what did your day-to-day look like?
Oh man, there's shipping, handling, receiving, sealing. There is grading.
The card goes through every single one of these departments.
There's 11. Yeah, I know this is like This is like the boring part, right? But the conveyor belt. But yeah, it hits receiving. It gets imaged. The images go into the computer. After the images go into the computer, they put a barcode on it, that has what this person, what Jason from Professor Sports Card, this is what he said he has, but does he actually have that, right? So that's the barcode. After the barcode, I can't remember, there's one more, then it comes to us, right? And so my job daily is we have a plethora of cards to pick from, right? There are GME orders that come in from GameStop that have no record at all. Like these orders come in and you're literally just given the sheet, and the sheet has 33 cards, nothing on this side, and you're pretty much filling in the rest, right?
Let me stop you real quick there. Yeah. So for a regular guy like me, I have to do all that paperwork before I send it in. You're telling me GameStop, those orders, they're not doing all that paperwork.
They spend a couple more bucks, right? I'm saying per card. I think they spend like maybe 25 to 30. It has been a couple, it's been 6 or 12 months since I've been out of the business. I don't know if they're charging any more, but they charge a couple more bucks at GameStop to do that. So they can just drop them off. They put their cards in. They don't even need to number them. They're not numbering them. They're just dropping them in. GameStop takes them, sends them to us, right? Now working from left to right, there are like priority lanes. So like you can look this up on PSA, right? If you want your cards back like in 3 to 7 days, I mean, you're spending
right. Okay.
Like $250 or something. I can't remember. Something, but obviously it's high end. You're talking like Mickey Mantles and Jackie Robinsons, whatever.
Or sometimes it's a new prospect and they want to want it right away.
Very true. James special parallel. You know what I'm saying? Let's get this back now while the iron's hot. Like you just said. And then there's like a different priority window. Okay, like maybe like a 7 days to 2 weeks, something like that. And then there's just like the regulars, right? And so I would, especially at the beginning, you're not even allowed on the priority lanes. You're just grabbing the regulars, right?
Okay.
And so pretty much like you're required to authenticate, like in research, you're authenticating about 600 cards a day. Obviously, like we'll get into overtime here in a little bit, and that kind of pumps up the numbers, a little bit more. But no, I mean, I would grab a satchel of cards. Usually, there's some that are really small, right? Like you might put an order in with 3 cards because they're super high value, and like I just want these 3 cards. Or you may be someone that is just kind of starting, and you're sending in 3 cards, right? But the average order is usually between about 20 and 80 cards, and you're just grabbing this box of cards. Actually, you're taking a tray and grabbing like 6 to 9 boxes of these cards, right? You're bringing them back to your place, and that's actually something that's pretty interesting. Is the race to get these cards, right? So every night, there's always a shitload of cards, right? But every night they've been picked through because you want, you said you love basketball, right? So you're looking for basketball. You're looking for like maybe like, can I find me some 2000s, some 2010s basketball? That's what I'm looking for. Other people are looking. I'm looking for football and baseball. I'm definitely looking for, like, I was always looking for 80s and 90s baseball because those are the cards I just know the best, and so that'd be easier for me. Right?
So when you're picking through, you're separating the order now. You don't take
No,
the
no,
whole
no,
order?
no, no. So we're not separating the order. We're looking for orders that have mostly this generation or this
Oh, okay.
demographic. There's some orders that are mixed for sure, and you kind of hate those orders, right? Because they're a pain in the ass. You got 20 baseball, you got 20 football, you got some Pokemon, you got this, you got that. You're all over the place with those orders. A lot of orders, my friend. Let me tell you, the best orders are you get 45 of the Jaden Daniels top now card 202. Like they're literally 45 of the same card, and boom. Like you're done with that order in 5 to 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
So this was your day today. This is what
Yeah,
you were doing in the building.
right.
Real quick, you mentioned oh yeah, go ahead.
No, just this part, because I think you'll think this is funny. So at about we came in at 3. You know what I'm saying? We came in at 3. By about 3:10, like not long. We have a meeting every day, lasts for 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes. You go there, blah 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 blah, and you're back to your desk, right? You know what I'm saying? By 3:10, there's someone rolling out the new I want to say Pokemon, but the new TCG, right? But it's mostly Pokemon, and the line to get those, it's like you're who's first in the lunch cafeteria. Like I'm hungry. You know what I'm saying?
Why did they want the new Pokemon? Why did they want
because like I told you, we get into this more. There's a majority of Pokemon TCG fans there. There's not. I walked in thinking.
So the people in research knew Pokemon better than they knew the sports card.
Yes. I walked in thinking that I'm gonna meet some cool dudes in here that know their ball, and there's a couple of those guys, right? But for the most part, it is a majority of people that love the TCG. They love the Pokemon. They love the what's the other there's the Magic, the Magic card one,
Magic Gathering.
Yeah, and there's a couple more I can't think of right now. But yeah, and so the race for that was pretty.
So intense. For you, it's fine because you didn't want to research that stuff.
I was not in that. I will be honest with you. At a certain point, when like I wanted my numbers just to pop, like let me show them I'm I would grab a couple of those boxes, because the reason why people like them is because a lot of people just like Pokemon in general. They love talking about it. There's plenty of side stories on that. But they're easier cards. Right? There's not 40 variations of a Pokemon card like there is,
the new stuff,
an ultra modern baseball card. Exactly. So people like them, and they're easier to run through.
You mentioned like the Pokemon thing. So I guess we'll move to, did it feel more corporate in the building? Did it feel hobbyist? Did it feel, what was the feeling inside? And how many employees were you working with?
Oh man, there's 80 people on the research floor at one time.
Okay.
It's kind of sectioned off just a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But pretty much like,
is that enough people? Or it seems like a lot, or do they need more?
Oh, for what PSA wants to do, I don't think they can ever have enough people, but as far as the people there, you asked me like what's the vibe inside, right? I wouldn't say corporate at all. I wouldn't say that at all. I wouldn't really even say like too much hobbyist at all, unfortunately. Some people, like I said, a small margin that really like sports, that can really talk about, like, if it's football season, baseball season, basketball season, talking sports. I'd say like maybe 25%. I would say 25% of the people there, believe it or not, and I guess this shouldn't be a believe it or not thing, but they're just there for their job. They didn't really talk sports. They didn't really talk Pokemon. You wouldn't even know what they liked per se. You know what I'm saying? A small majority, but 25%. So between 25% sports people, 20% non-verbal, for the most part, and then half the people were like loyalists of TCG. I wouldn't even say like, because I don't know that genre that well. I got to know it decently there. I wouldn't assimilate it to like a hobbyist for baseball, football, basketball, even different generations or different genres of sports cards, because there's so much more attached to Pokemon and stuff between the shows and the movies and the shows. I heard stuff that I didn't even know existed about movies and shows of Pokemon. So that's why I say like it's not really hobbyist, because like when people talk sports cards, they usually, and this is kind of weird to me because I love both sports and I love both sports cards, and I don't mind if you do this whatsoever, but it's still kind of funny when people talk sports cards, they rarely talk sports. They talk
Isn't
sports.
that weird? That is a little.
That is
they
weird.
Cross to me, and for some reason now,
like, how can you talk about the Jaden Daniels cards that this new card is worth so much money, and all they talk about the parallel, they talk about the card, but they don't talk about what he's doing on the field.
The sport is trivial to some of these guys. They don't even know the sport. They just want that flip.
It's crazy. But on the Pokemon side, that's where it's different for them. Like they know that stuff. They know the storylines. They know everything. So they love the card and they love the story that's attached to it. And that's why I say loyalist instead of in our thing, it's more like hobby. Like I love these cards. I don't know a whole lot about the sport, but I love these cards. With them, they're loyal. So the vibe, a little bit of sport, a little bit of like insignificant, and a lot of loyalists to the TCG game.
A lot of people would say, there's not enough employees at PSA. I would be curious some people want to ask, why don't they hire more? Why isn't there more people? So what is it like in there? What are your hours like? And do you agree that they need to hire more, or they should hire more people?
I mean, I would, all right. So the hours we come in at 3:00, there's a day shift. I mean, they would come in 5, 6, and 7 kind of staggered. We would come in at 3:00. Now, obviously 3 to 11 would be a normal shift, but we were on mandatory overtime. When you sign on, like you sign on knowing that there's going to be mandatory overtime. They don't tell you exactly, how long those periods are going to stretch for, or if it's going to be permanent or this or that. They just say that there's going to be, required overtime during stretches per se. So usually it'll be 3 to 1, 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. There would be people that would work even later, because there would be people that would work up to 12 hours. I had a guy told me that before they had like a certain rule, he could work up to 14 or 15 hours. And I'd be like, damn, bro. I mean, like, don't you need to sleep and eat?
Yeah.
And you got a couple things to do away from here. You know what I mean? But no. So
does that create? Go ahead.
As far as PSA needing more employees, I think that PSA would be better off needing less services from employees. It's like,
too much is on one person's plate.
No, I just think that, you have a really good thing going, maybe you have a boss like this, maybe you have a friend like this, maybe, even in your own life, right? You got a lot of things going on, but they're going pretty well. But hey, Jason wants to add on 3 more things this year, and they're going to take up, another 25 hours of his week. And it's like, man, I've already got 50 hours stretched out pretty good through these weeks. I'm getting everything accomplished. But if I take on these 3 extra, projects that I want to complete this year, it's going to tack on 25 more hours. Now I'm spending 75 hours a week trying to do this. And I might be able to do it once in a while, but sooner or later, something's going to catch up to me. And I think that PSA is like, yo, man, like you got so much going on. You got hubs in Asia. You got a hub in New Jersey. You got a hub here in Santa Ana. You got employees everywhere. And at a certain point, what's going to happen? On Jason's 75th or 65th to 75th hour, he's tired, man. He's not working. He doesn't know what's going on, right? And so, like, when you're hiring like the 20,000 person and the 30,000 person, at what point do these people not know a damn thing about cards or the business? You're just hiring people to fill these roles, and they don't really know what they're doing, So at a certain point, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to come back to bite them, because, like, I love the NFL, and I also abhor a lot of what the NFL does, because I don't agree with all of their policies. And I've said, I'm like, at a certain point, the NFL, they're going to learn about this, and the NFL learning about things is like, maybe $1 billion slap on the wrist, because for them, $1 billion really is a slap on the wrist, And so whenever PSA runs into any problems, like we kind of know what's going on and why those problems are arising, and what can be done to quell those problems. They don't care though. There is a steamroller. You know what I mean? Like, all right, all right, we'll fix this and just keep on going. So do they have enough employees? No, they'll never have enough employees.
When someone at first, mandatory overtime can sound great. Sure, I want to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, people do need to sleep. People do get caught up in a grind. So what kind of does it create a culture of people feeling bitter that they're working so much, or what you worked there 5 months. So what was your experience with that?
It's funny. I think it wasn't my first day there. It was like my second or third day there, where they weren't on overtime when I first started, right? They were just on 8 hours. And then and I remember like when the first couple nights I was there, hearing someone complain about like the pay. It's very poor pay, but what are you gonna do? And then like the next day or the following day after that, the mandatory overtime came, and just groans. I mean, remember there's 80 people on this floor, right? So hey guys, starting next Monday, we're going back to mandatory OT. Oh, and it's like were these the same people that were just complaining about not making any money? So I get you. I'm saying, like it's like I want more money, what I'm saying, but I don't want to be forced into doing it. It's like, I myself have went to college 3 different times. None of them when like it was supposed to happen, right? I think that I love reading. I didn't love reading when someone said, "Here's a book, read it." You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
So I think that when you choose to do things, it's much more. It's much more energetic and like, I'm gonna be a good employee kind of thing, but when you say you gotta do this, so
our brains don't like that.
And so here's the thing, Jason, be honest with you, man. Obviously no names here, but there was a guy that sat literally across from me, right? Literally across from me. And this dude, he would pick easy cards. He had been there for years, so he knew the system, this and that. This guy would bust out cards for an hour or so, and I would see him downstairs napping for 30 minutes at a time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like people are still gonna work their 8 hours, and they're gonna BS the other 2. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you can assign this overtime, but like, are you really even getting more out of it?
Got it.
I mean? Because here's the thing: people can do so the standard 600, right? People can do 750. But like they pace themselves, they check through this, they check through that. You can look at your phone. You can't take pictures, you know what I'm saying, but you can look at your phone. So people are like, go on Instagram or whatever, this and that, go into the break room. So me and a buddy there always thought it should be more about the number, like make it a number instead of make it a mandatory overtime thing, but obviously, people see things
because you might get a more efficiency out of it.
Yeah. I mean, you're just paying people for kind of goofing off for a couple extra hours per night.
You mentioned spreading themselves too thin. Now this is new. You weren't working there when they did this, but I'd still be curious your take. They've come out with a product called Graded Grails.
I just listened to that.
Okay, so now when you send in your card, they offer you a price back to buy the card from you. It kind of feels like a little bit of a conflict of interest. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, or
I think yes, definitely. But I also think, here's what I think when I see that, right? I got I sent in cards when I was there because it was easy. I got a little discount, and plus, like, I didn't pay shipping there, pay shipping back. I got a Derek Jeter 93 tops. The guy didn't even start playing until 96, right? I'm saying like this is like his best rookie card out there. I had a 9, and they at the bottom they put estimated PSA 9 value was like $30 or some shit. And you can go online and you can see this card is sold for over $100. Like, it's sold, like, not, a lot of people, like, they want this, they want this price, but you check the little button that says sold items and you see, what is this card sold for, and so they were telling me that the estimated value was $34 on this card, and this is before that started, like you just said. They were just, for whatever reason, they have an estimated value on these cards, right? And I can see it sold. So this is gonna be a GameStop thing. You just bought Madden. You know what I mean? Like, you bought Madden 2 weeks ago. For some reason,
I know.
For some reason, you don't want it no more. So you go to bring it back, and it's like, you just paid $64. You want 12? You know what I mean? Like, so
now I've heard from others, though, the price is a decent comp, because what I think their plan is they want to make just some margin on their mystery pack. They want to get it out. So I've heard the comp on what they're offering is halfway decent. It's not terrible.
Okay. Maybe they've upped it since I worked there and I had those estimated values under the cards.
The new business model, yeah, because someone will look it up and no one's going to resell it to them. They wouldn't get anyone. You mentioned just recently a discount.
I was going to say, I bet you they're not offering that on all cards, though, right? Like,
that's right. This guy, the one he brought up, was a Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is hype right now. NFL starting. But you did throw in a discount. What
Discounts. So the average person I think pays $19.99. You can, I think if you're, I've seen some orders coming in for like $17.49, maybe even some for $16.49. But mostly those are TCG, because like if you do TCG, not sports, they charge you a little bit less. And I think if you do like a major bulk, they charge you a little bit less. But for the average person, it's like $20 or 25 if you're doing the GameStop thing, stuff like that,
Sure.
right? For the PSA employee, it was $12.50. They raised it 50 cents while I was there to 13.
And you could just grade your own cards?
Oh no. You can, that's all you pay per card. But no. You're hands off. You can't research your cards. You can't even
you can send your card in, but you can't touch it.
You can't touch it.
So it's just some guy's card. They don't know it's a PSA employee's card.
They do know.
Okay.
They do know because there will be there'll be a slip. You know what I'm saying? And PSA EMP will be on there. So they know. They know.
This is just your experience and opinion, but when I hear that again, that seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest, letting PSA employees grade their card. I know not their own cards, but you could send in your card.
I mean, like who else would grade them though? You know what I mean? I mean, I feel you. I understand what you're saying, but if you want your card graded by PSA and you work there,
did a lot of employees grade, like, because it just seems like, okay, I'm gonna get a discount, maybe I'll get, and then do you know that if a lot of employees graded?
The guy in front of me that I told you would nap. I don't even know if the guy collected any cards, to be honest with you. But there was a guy behind me that big into TCG, small bit of sports, but he would get cards graded every month.
Crazy. All right, yeah, no, that's good insight. That's crazy. Graded girls. Before we go, what was one pro of working at PSA that you enjoyed, and then one con of PSA that you didn't enjoy working there?
Those are pretty easy. Those are pretty blaring for me. I mean, okay. the pros, the cards, the cards are awesome. I mean, the cards are awesome, man. I mean, when you are, middle-aged and you've been following sports your whole life, and now you go on the internet and you can see everything, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like I've seen it all. I've seen it all. There's nothing more to see, right? You get to PSA, bro, and you start taking these orders in. It's like, holy shit! I didn't know this existed. I know this existed. I forgot about this guy. I forgot. So I mean, like from literally, like, Babe Ruth, before Babe Ruth, all the way to the present, and I mean, I'm not a big fan of like super change, I'm saying, with all these parallels and stuff like that. But some of them are pretty cool. Some of them are super redundant and just ridiculous.
Good word. That's
right. But some of them are kind of cool, But for me, like, for me, the old relics were awesome. It was so cool looking at that stuff, and obviously, Michael Jordan's, this and that, Kobe's. I mean, awesome stuff, So
you got to see some really cool cards while you were working
for sure, for 100%, and I wouldn't now remember I told you about those lane ones, right?
Yeah,
those lane ones are like the quickest turnaround
priority.
I could not, like, you got to be there for like a years to even research those. So I couldn't research those, but I had some friends there that would say, "Hey, Rock, come take a look at this card," So I saw them, even I didn't research them myself.
Sure.
The easiest con is to pay, man. The pay is just dirt, I know I told you before that,
Can you disclose what the pay was?
I can only with a caveat though, because they'll be like, why this guy work there? You know what I'm saying? so I told you before, I used to be a fitness manager, I used to be a GM back in the gym. I've kept some of those clients. I got a master's in sports psychology. I've kind of twisted them into mental performance clients. So I have a decent income on the side. I can't pay all my bills with that income, so I need a job. I need some full-time job. Doesn't need to be great.
Life's expensive.
Yeah, that doesn't need to be great, but it's got to be a decent full-time job, Now PSA did test that theory, because I was like, I can attach this with anything, I'll be fine, because it was like damn $18 to $22. I mean, those kids are making dirt, and the graders are making like 22 to 25.
And that's in California, where things are really expensive. Yes. Just to throw that caveat out there.
Exactly. And the graders are barely making more. So you literally have people, like you said, we had spoke before about this 9 is $1,000. The 10 is 20,000, and this kid making $24 an hour is making
great. They have so much power, and it's some guy making $20 an hour, $25 an hour.
And he's not doing it to, and like, man, here's what kind of pisses me off, man. I'm working there, and as I go through all the orders, now what happens often is you'll see an order that comes back with like a card that's already went through the system. Okay, so this card's already went through the system. This person cracked the case. He got an 8. Didn't like the fact that he got an 8. He cracks the case. He sends the card back in, right?
Oh, all the time that happens.
Yes, but so we know when they
Oh,
do
you
that.
do know? Wait a
Yes.
minute, that's big news. So
Yes.
PSA does know. I get a 9 Jordan. I want to try to make it a 10. I crack it. How do they track that? How do they know that card's been there?
From the original package, from the original send. If you, Jason, Professor Sports, send it, right, and we look back, and this is the same, because remember, these cards
same guy sending it.
Well, these cards are serialed, right? So we know this is the exact card. Like this is a 1 of 1. Or
okay,
so
you can't do it with something not serial numbered.
I mean, every card is logged. So
it's just like, how would you know it's the same? Because I'm curious, but it's very interesting. How would you know it's the same Jordan rookie card I sent prior if I cracked it?
This is number 3 out of 49, and we know that you sent it in before, and there's
what if it's not serial numbered?
Well, even regardless, I'm trying to remember the exact process, and I'm forgetting exactly.
That's okay, all right.
But the point is that like they'll come in, and there's a flag next to it. Like there's a flag next to it, like this card has been submitted before.
Crazy. Okay, so they know, because that's a problem that some people say they shouldn't be always regrading the same card.
So when I would go through, when I would pull that card up, right, because you have to go back to the order to find it, right? You have to go back to the original order to find it. And so when I would go back to these original orders, I would see 20, 30 cards submitted, whatever it may be. And if you look, usually it's about 25 to 30% get 10s. Okay, on average. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. Of course, I submitted 25 cards. I got like 10 9s, which I was happy about. I got no 10s. I had 25 cards, and I was pretty pissed.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that is a bummer. But talking about the 10s, the kids.
Well, just cracking them. Can you crack like something about cracking the? It just feels like I'm surprised they know. I don't think the general public knows that PSA knows you. They should be tracking it, and then they probably shouldn't let them all be regraded again.
I mean, but who's once again, like, who's the kid rating it? You know what I mean? Like, does he even care? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even think, like, that's where I was going with it. It's like I don't think they care one way or another. You know what I mean? I don't think they're out to oh, I'm not gonna give this one. I'm gonna give this one instead.
People make an argument like, hey, that kid had a bad day in the morning.
I will tell you this though. I will tell you this though. My boss told me, he's like, because I told him about the Jeters I had, about some of these cards I had, and I had multiples, right? And he told me, don't send in the multiples. And I was like, why wouldn't I send the multiples? He's like, if you send in the multiples, there's less of a chance that you're gonna get a 10, because they're gonna make sure that one is better than the other. He's like, so you could send in 3 cards, they could all be 10s, but if they're looking at them, they're going to judge them against each other, and one will get a better grade than the other. And so he said, whenever multiples,
good tip,
send them in on different orders.
That's a good tip. How was you were 5 months, so you might not have insight to this, but was the turnover? Were there people there, or a lot of people that have been there forever? Is there a high turnover rate within the company?
I would say like there's at least for like the 80 people that were on my shift, right? The lean 60 were there for a long time. Like maybe like the bottom quarter, the bottom 25%. Might be a little bit of a feeder system, but people, they stay in it because they want to be a grader, or they want to do this, they want to do that.
Even for $25, they just want that. That's what they want to do.
I don't, I wanted to work there because I wanted to see what was going on. I thought it'd be fun. I love cards. I just literally, well, not literally, but for that stretch and until now, I mean, like I just started a damn Instagram, page and shop and everything.
Card father,
because for the past,
you're gonna get pushback on that though, because the other card father.
Well, Mr. Burbank, right? But for the past 4 or 5 years now, like I've just been in a rush with this stuff, like it's been so fun to get back into it, and yeah, it's taken on a life of itself.
What pushed you to get back into it? What pushed you to get into it? Not PSA itself, but just
no. I mean, when the pandemic, I mean, like what's funny is I didn't know that everyone else was doing it until I started doing it, right? So I started I can't remember when I bought my first. I could go back on my eBay page or not on my eBay page, just on eBay in general, and search my purchases. But at some point, I was like, you know what? I think I bought something nostalgic at somewhere in the pandemic, right? It wasn't cards, it was something nostalgic, right? I can't remember what it was. And then I got something else, and like it kind of just like it was like 3 purchases that just linked me closer to my past. And all of a sudden, I'm gonna buy some cards, and I bought some cards. I bought a box of cards. Buddy came over, bought another box the next week, and all of a sudden, I got fucking 20,000 cards here in a year. And I'm like, geez, I'm looking at my
problem.
I'm looking at my Discover bill and be like, this was never an issue before. All of a sudden, this is an issue now. You know what I'm saying? Because I use one card just for all the purchases. And I was like, man, but no, I think just just wanting to kind of be nostalgic, and then all of a sudden you get back into it, and like it's just fun again. But what's been not painful, frustrating, is seeing where the hobby has went, man. Like the hobby has just taken like such a, and like, you know what, man, like maybe it was always there, maybe it was on the way, and I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
No, it changed. It did change.
Definitely seemed like it turned. People to me nowadays, like I can't watch that Netflix show that has like the collectible guy. I can't watch that. I can't pay attention to I don't mind the guy from Shark Tank that just bought the Jordan
O'Leary
with someone else, but like and I do like that there is some kind of like traction for like these are investments. I like that for sure, but I don't like the fact that like these are investments and we don't care. It's just a piece of cardboard.
No, and a lot of them are making cards out. I do a lot of this kind of content, and a lot of them are making cards out to be like a Bugatti. They're making it out. It's supposed to be larger than life. Is how I view it, at least. And that's not what cards are. Cards are a humble thing.
I mean, like, cards are like, I remember and I miss, and like maybe this is happening at card shows. Maybe some of them is you used to go to the card shop back in the day, and like you obviously knew the owner or you knew the guy. He usually had a kid around your age. That's just how it seemed to always work. You know what I'm saying? And like you just sat there and like you talked about the cards and also the players.
That's
like,
right.
You talked about like the action. Like I remember going to a place and like because I used to live in Jacksonville with my pop back in like the mid '90s, and A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez was playing for the Jacksonville Suns. I can't find it.
Is that a minor league team over there? Or
So I actually have a card of him with the AA Suns, right? But this guy said back then, he's like, man, he's like, it was more so this guy's going to be awesome than it was check this card out. There was a little bit of like, hey, check this card out. But it was like, yo, you should see this guy play ball. And there's not that part of it anymore. There
is, but it's
a few
hidden
right
behind all the everyone's a salesman now. I mean, that's just what their content is all. And I know you're wanting, and we'll get at the end, we'll give you a plug. I really appreciate you coming on. We'll give you a plug for the eBay store. But
last thing on the hobby too, not me, last thing, but like for me, I don't know about for you, back in the day, it was about completing that set, right? I was like, I got these cards. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh damn, I only need like X amount more cards. I'm gonna complete this set.
That's
and so
right.
It was all about completing the set and like putting this all together. Now, what I dislike now, I want to say hate. What I dislike now is like if it's not a 101, if it's not serial, if it's not this crazy parallel. Like I got some awesome Prism football cards, but they're base. So it's like, does anyone even give a shit?
No.
Probably not. You know what I'm saying? I care.
Value-wise, no. Maybe I like the rookies. I like stuff.
But it's like
it has changed. So you're on the same page as me. Yeah. All of those things I agree with. What ended up? Was it the money? What ended up making you decide to leave PSA?
Oh man, I'm always I got a pretty good job right now with base and commission, and I'm doing pretty good. But I still look for work, man. I'm always looking for different work. It's just the way. I moved a lot as a kid. For better or for worse, and I like, I shouldn't say I like change in my job, but like, I never want something to get stale. You know what I mean? If I find like the forever job, then yeah, maybe I'm still looking for that, but and that's maybe that's why I love the hobby. Maybe that's why I'm such a card enthusiast, because I'm still 13, man. I don't want to be tied. I want to be tied down to shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no homework. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do this. So I'm always looking, man, and obviously it was not hard to find something better than $18 to $22 an hour.
Exactly.
What drew me to it, and like, yeah, sure, there was like maybe a moment or two where like, oh man, I'm gonna go work for PSA, and I can take this to, dude, you get there, they have a chief of staff. I'm like, what's this place? The fucking White House? They got a chief of staff? You know what I mean? And so you're thinking like, man, like who knows where I can go in this company? And then you sit there and you see like, you know, the funnel, you know, to trying to get out. And it's like there's 80 people trying to be the lead. You know what I'm saying? Then of all the leads, they're all trying to squeeze out to be like, you know, the supervisor. And it's like that's one hierarchy I'm not trying to grapple with.
Yeah.
Oh, I got something funny that you'll enjoy, right? So 80 people, right? I'm saying mostly TCG people, mostly Pokemon people. Would you believe in the break room in the back every week? This is no. I told some of my friends like, no, you're kidding. I was like, no, I'm not kidding. Every week there will be a new 5,000 piece puzzle in the break room that these people on their break time would go to and put this puzzle together. And it wouldn't be sports. If it was sports, I could even maybe nerd out and get down. You know what I'm saying? But it was like, you know, the castle of, you know, not even the castle of Grayskull. I might get down that, you know, but it was just like some weird bohemian stuff or some weird, like, you know, I can't even think of it, you know, but
no, that says a lot about the people there.
But it's like, I mean, like, I'm not downing puzzles, because when I was a kid, I loved puzzles. I mean, like, you could probably still get me into one now occasionally, but at work on your break time, like, it's just, it was interesting stuff, man.
Is there anything that we didn't go over that you think people would be interested in knowing from your experience at PSA? So I think we kind of covered our bases.
Yeah, I mean, the vending machines are grossly overpriced. I don't know if anyone cares about that. The bathrooms are like, you know, like every bathroom is like you just ate at Taco Bell. Bunch of dudes, people not in good shape. Could you imagine like the average person sitting down 8 to 10 hours a day? Like, you're sitting down for 8 to 10 hours a day. It's not a great job for sedentary, you know. No, I mean, like, you know, there's some quirks here and there, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's nothing. I could tell you some more funny stories, but as far as like any inner workings, you know, not too much. You know, around the corner from research, what was kind of one of the kind of cool things was there would be like the memorabilia stuff. So we mess with all the cards, but in a room like right adjacent to us, they would have like, you know, posters from musicians, bats from, you know, this ex-baseball player, you know, football signs, stuff like that, you know. So that was pretty cool. That was like right there, you know, right there next to us, you know. But no, nothing. Oh, here's something that, you know, this is one thing I kind of did look up to make sure I wouldn't stray too far across the line. But here's what I can tell you. And I can kind of like go like this, you know, pretend this is my desk, and I'm doing this right here. So the next thing I say you might get. But they had strong surveillance. I
believe that.
I mean, like, think about any bank that you've been to. Think about any place that you've been to and been like, yo, there's a lot of surveillance here. And then think about that times 5 to 10.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Like coming into the building and out of the building was a thing?
Not as much there, a little bit there, but on that research floor, woo, you're not, you know, you're not scratching your nose without, you know,
wow.
Yeah.
What is your eBay store?
The eBay store is the Cardfather 56.
I appreciate you coming on, Rocco.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me, Jason.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
What up, everybody? This is Robert Ory, aka Big Shot Bob, and you're watching Professional Sports Cards. Hey, by the way, go buy my rookie card.